You are the
Hello, hey, welcome back to another wonderfully exciting episode of Let's Talk About It Conversations with Industry Shapers. Today, I know you're going to love it because just the banter back and forth between Mr. Richard Blank and I was full of energy. So, Richard Blank from Costa Rica Call Center, welcome to the show.
so happy to be with you and your audience today, Jeff. You're the man.
It's going to be exciting, my friend. So, inside info, Richard Blank here did his schooling, his education in Southern Arizona, a little school called University of Arizona, right? So,
I'm a very proud Wildcat. I was a Spanish major. I doubled down on my favorite class when I graduated the proud Abington High School in Northeast Philly. And so when you have a passion, you do dedicated practice above and beyond what's expected of you at school, your family or friends' expectations. You might have some destiny. And so I was willing to risk my life and time on it.
that's fantastic. How did you choose Arizona? Well, we'll just say we are not aged men, but we are not spring chickens either. So, how did you choose Arizona back in the day?
That's an excellent question. I was very fortunate during the summers. I'd spent them in Mayer, Arizona, at a place called the Coda Circle V Bar Ranch, the Orm School, private school during the year, but they opened it up for camp in the summers. I made my best friends and had the greatest time of my life. So it was a dream summer. And so when I had the opportunity, when I was graduating, I didn't want to go to cold weather. I was sick of the wintertime and slush. And the fact that the University of Arizona had a wonderful language program, in-state tuition was next to nothing. Tucson was very affordable. And I also felt it was a responsible decision for my parents. You don't need to send me to Ivy League. I couldn't get in anyway, and I didn't want to go. And so they almost saw it as like a parlor trick or something cute or to talk about with their friends. Little did they know that I was in this to win this. And I knew that if I were the only one out of my friends that could speak a second language, I might be marketable, doors may open. And plus, the weather is so nice in Tucson. And you're not going to believe that just a little bit of information. When I was there, I actually lived with a basketball player. When I was in my sophomore year, I lived with Khalid Reeves. He was at the ZBT house. So just a little bit of Wildcat history for you, the greatest point guard we
Oh my
had.
God. It's full circle because we're going to dive deep here. There's a young man and two young men who I also own an insurance firm, right? Right, sure. North America's most awarded insurance firm. But there are two young men there from the ZBT house at the U of A, so I'll have to bring that
Oh
up.
man, ask me about my years. It
I
was
that
so
is
much fun. I was there from 91 to 96. 96, yeah, I was a super senior. And
it,
trust me, I kept going by the fraternity for free food and fun parties. It was
that's
amazing.
right. That's the way to do it. Awesome.
Yeah, but you
So
needed to be a mentor to these young freshmen and sophomores coming in, not telling them how to cheat on tests, how to, maybe grow up a little bit, how to do your laundry and cook, pay your bills
absolutely.
and ease into college. And so I felt I was able to pay it forward at that age.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's good. Yeah, it's transferring knowledge to the next generation is part of my entire life right now, right? From books to just speaking and helping people. I would submit to our listeners that you can waste your breath because if the heart is not ready, the teacher isn't allowed in, right? So you got to find the kids or young people, sorry, who are ready to be mentored and have an open listening available heart and mind to take it in. But yeah, otherwise we're just planting seeds that aren't going to grow.
So let's all calm down for a second. I've been able to snap people out of it by sizing them up, calling the balls and the strikes, doing some little Philly guilt there. But I tell you what, and I'll mention it again, every time that I was with my peers in the gym in athletics, forget scholastics, but just in life, with their apartment cleaner than mine, did they have a cleaner bathroom? They know how to organize and iron their shirts. So I mean, these are things you might think are common, but sometimes when you are in a certain bubble where people do things for you growing up, you're not prepared. And there are people that are your age that are 5 steps ahead because they have their act together. And so maybe the greatest way to grow up is to size up and look at your peers and see what they have done in order to get somewhere. And, that was good for me in college. There were some kids that really had their act together. And so I learned from that as well.
That's fantastic. I love that. Grow up to size up. That's you want to grow up, you should decide. That's great counsel, Richard. I love that. Well, let's talk about Costa Rica Call Center, what you do, how you started it, or your role in it. Um, Full disclosure, I have lots of friends that use offshore call centers. We used to have in a prior company hundreds of resources in India, Malaysia,
Mm.
Bogota, Venezuela. So it's not new to me. To some people, it is. So let's talk about yours and then how easy it is to get set up with you, and then maybe what your verticals, if you're focused on any specific industry or vertical.
Of course. Well, the setup with me is very simple. You just got to get in touch. And what I will do is just ask you specific questions just to see, not if you're qualified, if I'm a good fit. Because a lot of the times you understand it, but you might see Hollywood glamorize cold call closing and coffee for closers, or maybe thinking all we do is sling stock in real estate. But I tell you what, if you're very smart about this, you can retain a client, you can do an upsell, get a referral. Maybe by having that interpersonal communication relationship, you can get an exit interview and figure out ways to improve your business. People today are looking more towards omni-channel non-voice support, chat, emails, AIs, and bots. I think that's phenomenal for gathering, but someone's got to cook it. And you still need that 10% human touch approach, empathy, relationship to put that ball in the end zone. And so, do I think my industry is going to change dramatically? I think 40% of the people are probably going to be replaced with very simple level one and level two AI that will perfect answering certain questions and doing QA and setting it up for you, teeing it up. But I tell you what, the specialists, the ones that really go above and beyond, the ones that can really be coached and trained, they'll be there. They'll be overseeing those bots that will bring in the leads for them to call to close or to be transferred to. And so look for it for appointment setting, lead generation, sales, customer support, back office support, non-voice support. We're here to maybe enhance what you're doing, offset certain times, certain work, maybe using our predictive dialer, our resources, our experience to get the plane off the ground for you. You don't need to go crazy. Our minimum amount is one agent for a month, and you can scale accordingly. And my company's out of the States. So we do abide by all US business and banking laws, and in turn hire my company here in Costa Rica. But I tell you what, no surprises. What I like to do is not be a devil's advocate, but we need to talk about natural and forced attrition, realistic metrics, the fact that Jasmine can do it in your office. Let's see if we can translate that down here and duplicate it. And I like preparations. I don't want your lack of preparation to be my emergency on a Sunday night because your call center in the Philippines or India closed. I think a lot of running a business is financial and ethical responsibility. And so the fact that I pay my taxes here, pay everybody on time, own my own building, I'm ahead of the game. You don't have to worry. And so these are the sort of things I can chip away people's doubts or insecurities or fear of working offshore. In my case, nearshore to the United States. I tell you what, this industry is not for the faint of heart. It is a beautiful dance of speech. It's an art of speech. And if those that increase their vocabulary, learn more similes, speak in color with more adjectives, and use more descriptive vocabulary, maybe more engagement and active listening, using tie downs, transitional sentences, name drops. And my favorite is positive escalations. Then you're not angling, you're not hustling. What you're doing is making a clean call, and you're using the simple soft skills and manners that will get your call to go further and have people call you back. And maybe, Jeff, just doing some due diligence, you could leave a custom-made voicemail or email. And so just put a tad bit of effort in it. That's all.
Yeah.
Because most people are just carpet bombing, going through the motions, hating what they do. And trust me, people can hear it on the other side of the call.
Absolutely, they're just mailing it in, right? There's a disconnect. It is a global phenomenon, right? I've been fortunate to travel all over the world, into Europe several times a year, and
Yeah.
it's not just a North American or states kind of apathy towards a lot of things. It exists. However, there are, of course, lots of people that are engaged and motivated and want to make a difference and who are driven. And that's what we've found. Now, I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't used your call center, but in other companies, I've used others. And, um, the good news is if you've got a well-defined plan and an intention and a goal, they can help you exponentially. There are can be some expense savings. That's not the number one reason for us, but other people, that's the driver. Um,
Sure.
the piece of us is we just wanted that continuity 24/7, 365, right? And being near shore like you are makes it a lot easier to have morning and daytime calls instead of waiting for the folks we had in India, right? So,
Oh, our
so how,
proximity to the States, Jeff. I'm a couple hours direct flight, Mountain Time Zone. Spanish is the largest second language, will be the first in the United States. Plus
it,
the expat population and understanding the genres of the Anglo-Saxon culture has made it easier for us to be able to relate better.
very true. How did you end up there? How did you start this? And how long ago? Just interested in the journey.
And you had to get past your parents' guilt to go
Yeah,
anywhere.
right. Right.
Listen, I was in between jobs, and at 27, a good friend of mine said, "Why don't you come to Costa Rica for a couple months, teach English at my call center, and take a time out, in your late 20s." Little did I know that when I was here after 60 days, I decided to stay. I fell in love, married, and still with the girl of my dreams. We started this company together, Grace Bourbon. But when I was at my friend's call center, okay, I learned the business from the inside out. It wasn't C-level. And a call center is very interesting. You can learn retention, customer support, sales, onboarding, training, human resources, labor laws, search engine optimization. Whoosh. And so I said, this is very interesting. And as long as I was stimulated and I saw these English second language agents completely engaged on the phone, I don't know, maybe you get the butterflies or you say, wait a second, this looks like wiffle ball to me. I think I can handle this. And so when you get on a phone and you've never been trained before, guess what happens? You don't have bad habits. You could be molded accordingly.
That's
And
true.
thankfully, I had some excellent mentors that guided me into the structure of a phone call. I then took it into my own. But I saw the results and I understood the play. And I love the fact that strangers are friends you haven't met yet. And if you're eliminating three of your senses, your taste, touch, and smell, and you're doing it in a controlled environment consistently, your hearing and especially your image streaming, your visual, your metaphysics has to kick in. I
Yeah.
mean, who does this? And so if I could master the sight unseen speech and really focus on phonetics, I might be able to crack some codes, see some tell signs, and really perfect the beautiful sound of speech. And so for me, I realized I was getting a triple benefit out of this. And then I was in my mid 30s and I was getting older and I really wanted to put my hat in the ring. So I couldn't snap my fingers and be where I am today, sitting on a building that can house 300 people, server room, the shebang. What did I do? I rented a turnkey station at a blended center. So I could just, for a couple $100 a month, it's turnkey. Is it special? No. It's like Spirit Airlines, right? It's not first class, but I'll get you there. And I could expand accordingly. And I did that for a couple of years until I had the stability of the clients. I had some capital. And then I rented space. And you can easily pick up furniture and use computers for pennies on the dollar. So I could put a row in at a time, 10 computers at a time. Beautiful for me. I'm not overextending. And I didn't have partners and I did it all in cash. So it was easy for me to balance it and make my margins. Then after 6 years of doing that, I had enough capital. I really had the clients and I decided to put it all in. And I purchased an old building from 1958 with a mango tree in the middle of it.
Oh,
And so what
nice.
I did was I gutted it, put a third floor and decked it out into being an Art Deco call center. And so you kind of let it ride like Richard Dreyfuss's movie. Sometimes you're on a hot streak and you're hitting threes. Hey, man, if today is my day, I'm going to keep doing it. And so, I mean, what else are you going to do besides, dance in the rain a little bit and drink life. And so looking back at it now, I think it was very bold and brave and a little crazy at times. But then again, who else are you going to gamble on besides yourself? If
True.
you have this sort of momentum and things are coming back at you, you might as well keep playing. And 16 years later, I'm very proud that I did. And so
That's
that's why we're
fantastic.
here with you today. Yeah.
Love that story. As we were talking before, I just left Belize, literally 5, 6 days ago. If we'd have had this conversation before then, I probably would have just ran around Nicaragua and came in to see you, right?
Oh
So,
man, picking you up at
um,
the airport. That's right.
what what is the primary, like if you had to do the 80/20, is 80% of your business in the service industry, or is it medical? Is it finance? What's kind of your target market for companies?
How about this? I'm going to tell you five I don't do. Sports books, casino, stocks, pharmacies, or sweepstakes. I have
Nice.
nothing against it, but I'm in a very strict Catholic country. So I just want to make sure people can go home and tell their parents what they do for a living.
Good
I'm
point.
very selective of what comes in. I turn down more than I accept, not because it's gray area or shady, just because maybe their list isn't large enough. I can't work a whole month on 400 leads.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
have nobody in the office to pick up on a transfer, you're not following through. How are we going to do business?
Yeah.
I'm willing to write a script with you, use my CRM, my dialer, and build in this process. But once again, this is not a 1 week test. You have to think long term. And so unfortunately, a lot of people by default disqualify themselves because they're just not ready yet. And I can't mix and match it like Voltron or patch it up. It has to be consistency because of my reputation. I got to
Yeah.
make sure people have full-time work and their benefits, or they're just going to think we're a joke. And
Very,
so
very, very true.
I'm not going to fall on your sword there, Skippy. You got to make sure that we both leave something on the table. And so
Absolutely.
the campaigns that I have, I work with law firms and I have transportation. My favorite clients, the movies and music campaign. People love that sort of stuff.
Really.
And so we work with all different types of companies. And my main thing is two things. I want to make sure I can fulfill their needs. And I also want to make it marketable because I can't promise to get you 10 people. No one wants to do it.
Right.
And so it has to be a good fit. As much as I'm a salesman, I and want to earn the business ethically. I
Yeah.
got to make sure that I let you know my thoughts, and then collectively we can make that decision. So there's no surprises. I told you prior that there
Yeah.
may be natural attrition because of Amazon. You're looking for Chinese speakers. I don't have Chinese speakers, right? And we don't do 24/7, and I can't match the rates of India. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of things I need to discuss prior to a contract, and that's just important for me.
No, it's really good. It's valuable for our listeners that are thinking about it. I again, I've had not with your firm, but experience with these multiple times, from outbound calls to inbound, using them in different workflows. And if nothing else, it helps you solidify your processes, right? Get it scripted and get it turnkeyed
Okay.
for the next iteration of the next version. And so it forces you to do that. But then you'll quickly see you can't do the same margins in America, so you need to outsource it, right? And so it very quickly, I think anyone that does uses your services or any of them will find that it's just a very viable part of their future operation, right? It's just tough to unwind from the value and the metrics and the increase in operational efficiency. So
Let's look at it two ways. If somebody is asking me to do inbound customer support on a 5 minute talk time, five simple questions and conversion, if I'm double the price, I can't do double the amount of calls in an hour. So I can't earn that account. But on the flip side, lead gen, appointment setting, sales, if caliber, merit, skill, right? On your feet thinking, man, if somebody in Chicago can do 4 times the amount in the Philippines, but the Philippines is half the price, you'd be foolish not to. And so you really have to take it by a case basis, or you might want to have 5 people filtering into the closer. So at least you still keep an ace on the team with home court advantage. And so
yeah,
these are the sort of things I'll talk about. Well, Richard, you're not going to earn those 3 seats. Yeah, I understand that, Jeff. But the most important thing is that we're all making money.
Right,
I'm
which
just gonna
is
let you know
very
how we're
true.
going to score and win these football games. And so
Yeah, absolutely.
we'll give you a game plan. You can't fire Billy. Billy's the best, but he's more expensive. Let's calm down for a second. How do I offset Billy's time?
I love it. That's
Nice.
fantastic. So a lot of the vertical is more well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What you said movies and films, and that piqued my
It's like an
curiosity. You want
inbound
to dive
customer
deeper into that?
support, 55 plus demographic. For an example, we send them these big books a couple times a year, and they call us up with their account, order rate, they're ready, and they're looking at Elvis Presley movies and John Wayne war movies, and all we do is ingratiate them and let them know they have amazing taste. Now, you want to hear something funny? This is a great example you brought up. Richard, how'd you get this account? Because they must have been prospecting. Of course they were. But you have to understand something. I love classic movies. My favorite actor is Humphrey Bogart,
Mm.
James Cagney. I mean, Basil Rathbone, that's my mentor. He was doing stuff in the 30s and 40s. So when the client called me and said, Richard, do you know anything about classic movies?
Yes.
With wiffle ball pitch. Here we go again. I started rattling off all my Alfred Hitchcocks and Steve McQueen's. And I mean, come on, man, I'm all over the place. And the guy's like, man, you know this better than I do. I go, could you imagine how I'm going to be pushing this and selling this?
Yeah,
Getting
absolutely.
excited over them spaghetti westerners of Clint Eastwood. I mean, you got to be kidding me. These were classics. But
Yeah.
um, I tell you what, one of the greatest things people can do is to watch these movies, because if you're speaking, let's say for an example, you're 20 years old now and you want to call someone like myself, a business owner, you should be watching Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Why? Because that's what I grew up on.
That's
So when you
right.
call me up, you go, come on, man, you know Mike Damone's 5-point plan. Or you mentioned Scotty Palmer from the movie Hard Bodies when he talked about the BBD, the bigger, better deal. If you say that to me on a phone call, I have my credit card at the ready, it's yours to lose. I mean, you're completely anchoring with me. My favorite shows were the A-Team and Remington Steele. I mean, come on, man, I'm an 80s cat. So learn your market. These are the things you'll have in common. I got no idea what's going on today, but you mentioned stuff from the 80s. We're connecting like crazy. And maybe
Absolutely.
I watched those classic movies so I could talk to Mr. Jones
Yeah.
about what he watched at the drive-in in high school, you know?
Oh, that's fantastic. And it's real too. Like my daughter-in-law is Polish. My son lives in Poland. They're still there. She learned English after they met 10 years ago, literally by watching Everybody Loves Raymond. That's how she
Hmm.
learned English,
Great
right?
show.
It's fantastic. And he learned Polish by watching similar things. And so it is important. It's vital. You pick up the nuances of the time, right? The genres of the time, and it allows you to align with people. You're right. I mean, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, yeah, me. Get Shorty, one of my favorite movies. Princess Bride, yeah, I'll have my credit card ready, right? So, I
At least
mean,
you're anchoring. At
yeah,
least it's not we're good thanks. You might laugh for a second, say, okay, Richie,
yeah,
what you selling? You know, at
yeah,
least you'll give
yeah.
me a shot.
It's true, right? That it's funny. I'm not involved in it anymore as much, but when I was had some soccer teams and some sports teams that I owned, um, we used to try to teach the ticket sellers, right, and the suite sellers and everything that it's not about a transaction. Make a connection, and that's what you're talking about. Really, it's anchoring, but it's make a connection. Find something. Not just going to sell them a 6 pack of season tickets and a $20,000 suite. Find a connection. What makes them what makes them tick. If they live for Diet Coke and we're Pepsi Stadium, we will have Diet Coke, Richard, in your suite alone. Don't worry about that, right? So,
Exactly.
but anchoring is a better way of saying it. I love it because it draws us down together. That's awesome.
What's real?
Yeah.
And I think authenticity goes the furthest on these calls. But remember, I mentioned earlier positive escalation. Before I get transferred to you, Jeff, I want to make sure that I compliment Judy. She gave me the pass to pitch. I will do it in a voicemail, I'll do it in an email. So when I'm building that pipeline and calling your company back, she'll say to me, Richard, I've been here for 10 years. You're the first person to ever compliment me to Jeff. And I go, of course I am, Judy. And then you wonder why I get this sort of business, prior to any sort of contract. Look, I'm treating everybody. And then Jeff's going to say, hey, listen, that's my wife. She's been with me for 10 years, or that's my daughter. She's the most, come on, you pay it forward. You
Yeah.
really pay it forward the right way. And if you do it, you'll get your percentages. You'll do much better business.
Absolutely right. It's kind of a missionary economic zeal mentality, right? Absolutely right. Do the right thing. The universe, God, spirit, whatever you call it or subscribe it to, will reward you. So yeah, I can definitely drink that in. Um, well, hey, let's talk about how people get in touch with you, and
Uh-huh.
then if you will give our listeners the Richard Blank hard-won wisdom lessons, that would be wonderful.
I'm going to make them all feel guilty. How do you get in touch with me? Well, just like yourself, you almost did it. Buy that plane ticket, fly to Central America, come visit me. Just for your audience, real quick, we're north of Panama, south of Nicaragua. Costa Rica is the only democratic society in Central America. There's no standing army, 95% literacy rate, most neutral English accent, best infrastructure, and companies such as Amazon, HP, Intel, and Oracle are here. So I compete against the big boys. I'm like Lucas versus Charlie Sheen. What are you going to do? But it's very funny because since I'm not at the thousands collective, and those that like to play pinball with me, break bread, be coachable, let me know your name so I can delegate and promote you. That's the natural filtration process. I don't have forced attrition. I'm not looking to fire you. But I tell you what, if there's a better schedule, your girlfriend works at Amazon, it's closer to home, or you might make more money, that's the name of the game. Me today, you tomorrow. But I also have an exceptionally large Facebook fan page. 136,000 Ticos are on that page. So it'll
Fantastic.
give you guys a chance to see the pulse of Central America BPO. So you'll read about all the different companies, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, my final bit of wisdom for you, and it's very simple, is just not to be hard on yourself. Okay, I know you're judging yourself to others, but that's fine. Really, it's about your own forced march. And so if you can make your bed in the morning, I think that's a great start. That's a nice circle. If you're able to look at yourself in the eyes at the end of every day and know that regardless of the outcome, you did everything with the most honorable intentions, that'll give you the strength to fight another day. Because if I'm judging it on $100 or $2, that's not right. I mean, that's not the way to play. This is the sort of thing where you only get 100 years here, and golden jewels lose its luster. I've been very, very fortunate to have made certain high risk decisions, but they paid off. And so I have enough dinners to eat the rest of my life. And so if I've taken that worry out of the equation, what does have value? Where are your priorities? And I've mentioned it multiple times about paying it forward. You know why, Jeff, my boy? Because if the late Principal Norman Schmidt, my dedicated Spanish teacher at Abington, didn't write me that recommendation, they would have not offset my bad grades to get me into Arizona. If I was not given by my cousin Joe this 1 in a million opportunity to move to Costa Rica, would have never met the girl of my dreams or had this opportunity. So if you think that I'm doing this all on my own, you're out of your mind. There's a million thank yous along the way of all those that said, go, Richard, go. And that's what I needed, the gas in my car to continue on this journey, especially those days, Jeff, when I lost the account, a supervisor quit without notice, I got a flat tire in the rain. I don't know, name me 1,000 things that could go wrong down here.
Yep.
Well, just like the movie Zorba the Greek with Anthony Quinn, when your ship is sinking in front of the whole Pueblo, you put your arms out and you start dancing. Why? I'll dance with the devil. Man, I'm stronger than you. You're not going to knock me out. I'll come back again. Is that my test? Is that to see if you make me cry? You got to do harder than that. And so this is the price that you pay. And if you're willing to do this and have the long game, expect a few scars and a couple chinks in your armor. I mean, it only gives you character. But I tell you what, when you do get to that stage, you are capable of passing that wisdom down to others, to not save them from the rabbit holes, to give them their momentum and to add wind in their sails. I hate hitting the ball and dragging Johnny. What I love to do is to encourage those that have a certain spark and they just needed somebody, maybe even a stranger, to point it out and to let them know that they're on to something. Because there were a lot of people outside of my friends and family, strangers or first time meets, that said, hey, kiddo, you keep studying that Spanish, or I like where you're going with this. Those are the true judgments that you get.
Oh, it's fantastic. Lifting people up. And, I've never met a successful man anywhere that's on an island. He stands on the shoulders of many wonderful people, right? And
Oh, yeah.
even if they're not willing to admit it yet, as they get longer in the tooth and more wise, they look back and it's like, wow, I stood on the shoulders of giants. And myself, I've been able to sit at the feet of greatness. Could have been more great people, but my heart wasn't ready, right? So that's fantastic. Well, Richard, this has been wonderful. Thank you for your wisdom, your guidance, and your
Thanks, man.
your discussion about the call center there. I think if you're listening, you definitely want to check out the website. It'll be in the show notes, and we'll have to have you back on in 8 to 10 months to see what's going on next. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, my man. Just remember, not all telemarketers are bad. Hopefully I've shattered that misconception.
Absolutely, man. Wonderful.